It started as an ordinary morning, just like any other. People boarded the city bus, each lost in their own world, scrolling through their phones, reading newspapers, or simply staring out the window as the city came alive. But for one young man, what seemed like just another ride would soon become a life-changing moment. He thought he was entitled to the seat. He thought he could simply take what he wanted. But what he didn't expect was that the elderly stranger sitting there would teach him a lesson he would never forget. Before we dive into this unforgettable story, I want to invite you to subscribe to this channel. Here, we tell stories that open your mind, challenge your perspective, and stay with you long after the video ends. Make sure to stay until the end, because the way this story unfolds will truly surprise you. Jason Miller was 24 years old. Ambitious, energetic, but impatient. He had always believed the world owed him something. Life had taught him to push, to take, to demand. He wasn't cruel, but he was entitled, and he rarely stopped to think about the people around him. That morning, Jason was running late for work. The bus was already crowded when he stepped on board. His eyes scanned the rows, searching for an empty seat, but every spot was taken. He sighed in frustration, tapping his foot anxiously as the bus rolled forward. His gaze settled on one particular seat, a seat occupied by an elderly man sitting calmly, hands resting on his lap, looking peacefully out the window. The man was dressed simply, wearing a gray sweater and pressed slacks. His face, lined with age, carried the weight of countless stories. His hair was silver, his posture relaxed, and his expression was one of quiet contentment. Jason didn't know who this man was. He didn't care. All he saw was a seat he wanted. Jason walked over quickly, his voice cutting through the low hum of the bus. "Hey! That's my seat. Get up now." The elderly man slowly turned his head, his calm eyes meeting Jason's glare. There was no fear in his gaze, no anger. He simply looked at Jason, as if carefully measuring him. The entire bus grew silent. Conversations paused. Passengers looked up from their phones. Some watched with curiosity, others with disbelief. Jason, feeling the weight of the attention but unwilling to back down, repeated himself. "I said, get up. I don't have time for this." The elderly man's response was soft, but firm. "Young man, this is not your seat. I was here first. There are no reserved seats here." Jason's impatience boiled over. "I'm in a rush, and I've had a hard morning. Just give me the seat." The man's eyes didn't waver. His voice remained steady. A hard morning is not an excuse to push others aside. Perhaps you should stand and reflect on that. The word struck Jason harder than he expected, but he quickly masked his discomfort with a sarcastic laugh. "Wow, so now I'm getting a life lesson from a stranger? Just move." Still, the man remained seated. Around them, murmurs began to spread. Some passengers whispered in Jason's direction. Others shook their heads. One young woman pulled out her phone, quietly recording the scene. Jason's anger escalated. He stepped closer, his tone sharp, his body tense. "You think you can just ignore me? Do you know who I am?" The elderly man smiled gently. "Do you know who I am?" Jason paused, caught off guard. The man continued, his voice carrying a quiet authority. "You see me as someone small, someone who can be pushed aside. But perhaps you should ask yourself, what have you learned about respect?" Jason sneered. "Respect? People earn respect." The man nodded. "That's true. And people also lose it when they act like you are acting now." The entire bus was watching. Jason could feel the weight of their judgment. For the first time, he noticed the disapproving stares, the silent condemnation. But the man wasn't finished. "I have seen many things in my life," he said calmly. "I have stood when it mattered, and I have sat when I needed to. This seat is just a seat. But what you are losing right now is something much more valuable, your dignity. Jason's throat tightened. He was no longer sure if he was angry or embarrassed. Something about the man's words pierced through his defensive shell. But his pride wouldn't let him back down. "I don't need your philosophy," Jason muttered. "I just need that seat." The elderly man looked at him with deep, unwavering patience. "If you truly believe that, you may take the seat. But know that you will have traded a piece of your character for it." Jason stood there, frozen, realizing that even if he forced the man to move, he would have gained nothing and lost something far more important. A man sitting nearby finally spoke up. "Let it go, kid. The seat's not worth it." The young woman with the phone added quietly, "Everyone here has seen who you really are now." The words echoed painfully in Jason's mind. His fists clenched, his jaw tightened, but slowly, something inside him cracked. His chest felt heavy, not with anger now, but with shame. He stepped back. "You know what? Keep it," Jason muttered, turning away, his voice hollow. The bus continued on, the tension slowly dissolving, but the weight of the moment lingered. Jason stood in silence, his thoughts racing. For the rest of the ride, he stared at his reflection in the bus window, but what he saw was not the confident, entitled man he thought he was. He saw someone who had been exposed, someone who had to confront himself. When the bus reached his stop, Jason hesitated. Something inside him told him to make it right. As he walked toward the door, he turned back and looked at the elderly man, who was now reading a small, worn book. Jason swallowed hard. I'm sorry." The man glanced up, his expression softening. He simply nodded. Growth begins when we learn to say those words. Jason stepped off the bus, his heart still heavy, but something had shifted. He realized he had just been handed one of the most valuable lessons of his life, a lesson about respect, humility, and self-awareness. Over the next few days, that moment stayed with him. It gnawed at him in quiet hours, it resurfaced when he saw others mistreat strangers, it echoed in his mind every time he was tempted to put himself above someone else. Slowly, Jason changed. He became more patient. He listened more. He offered his seat willingly to those who needed it. He learned to pause, to consider, to choose kindness over pride. And though he never saw the elderly man again, he would never forget him. That man had not just held his seat. He had held up a mirror to Jason's soul. It's incredible how life works. Sometimes the most powerful lessons don't come from grand speeches or from people we know well. Sometimes they come from a quiet stranger on a crowded bus. If you've made it this far, I want to thank you for watching and remind you, these stories are not just entertainment. They carry messages that can change the way we see the world and the way we see ourselves. Please subscribe to this channel if you want to hear more stories that matter, stories that stay with you and challenge your thinking. Like this video if you believe in the power of small moments to create big changes. And I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you ever been in a situation like Jason's? What would you have done? Leave your answer in the comments below. Your engagement helps these stories reach more people who need to hear them. And sometimes, just like Jason, all it takes is one moment to make us see life differently. If this story resonated with you, don't let it stop here. Subscribe to this channel right now to hear more stories that challenge, inspire, and reveal hidden truths. Your voice matters. Leave a comment below and tell us what you think about what happened to Elijah. Do you believe justice was served? Also, don't forget to hit the like button to help this story reach more people who need to hear it. Share this video with someone who should know that even in the darkest moments, one phone call can change everything. Your support drives this channel forward. Thank you for being part of this community.